Wisner. The book I've chosen for Professor Zeporia Smith's reading class presentation is Daulaires' book of Greek myths. This book is suitable for students from the 4th grade on, certainly in the middle school and even into high school. There are a number of reasons to use this book. They're fun. Kids like having them read to them. They can be used in group settings or as independent reading. And kids like to return to them. The book has some nice illustrations. For example, this one of Hephaestus, Roman name Vulcan, with his helpers, the Cyclopes, or this illustration of Aphrodite, Roman name Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, seen here rising from the foam of the sea. These myths can provide a substantial body of knowledge. The myths have passed into our cultural traditions, literature, music, and art. The figures of Odysseus, Roman name Ulysses, or Heracles, Roman name Hercules, are two examples. There are modern versions that are popular, especially among middle school kids, Rick Riordan's Perseus and the Olympians, and some books by George O'Connor. Myths appear as figures in video games. I'm going to end by reading the story of Narcissus and Echo, which I think illustrates some of what I'm saying here. But you can cut it off if it seems too long. As for building knowledge and vocabulary, especially if you provide a chart that you can build right from the end of this book of the Greek and Roman names of the gods, students can be introduced to the names of the planets, various constellations. Of the vocabulary that they can learn, some obvious words are Herculean or Atlas or the verb tantalize. Myths become also bridges to other cultures. For example, comparisons with the Norse gods. Or it's possible to take the theme of the strong man with nonetheless fatal weakness as Hercules has, as Gilgamesh in the Babylonian tradition, or Gilgamesh, or Samson in the biblical tradition, all have. Myths can be then used as a way of talking about religion, which is so important in human life, and kids like to talk about it, but it doesn't get into the issues involved in particular current religions. The myths can be used to fulfill a number of the Common Core state standards, and some of the specifics will be listed on the discussion board. So without further ado, let me try the story of Echo and Narcissus. A little background: the goat-footed god Pan loved Echo, and in this story you'll see that Zeus was apparently in the neighborhood, not necessarily seeking Echo, but maybe some of the nymphs that she associated with. Echo was one of the nymphs with whom Pan fell in love. She was a gay nymph who chatted and prattled all day long, and never kept quiet long enough for Pan to win her with his music and poetry. One day Hera came down from Olympus to look for Zeus. She suspected he was playing with the nymphs, but Echo detained her so long with idle chatter that Zeus, who really was there, was able to sneak away. Hera, in a rage, punished Echo by taking from her the gift of forming her own words. From then on, poor Echo could only repeat the words of others. Now at last Pan thought he could win her by his words, but before he had a chance she had lost her heart to another. He was Narcissus, and was so handsome that every girl and every nymph he met fell in love with him. Unfortunately, he liked nobody but himself. Echo trailed silently behind Narcissus as he hunted in the woods, hoping to hear an endearing word from him that she could repeat, but he never so much as noticed her. At last, towards nightfall, they came to a quiet pool, and as Narcissus was thirsty, he bent down to drink. Suddenly he stopped and stared, for in the mirroring surface of the water he saw the handsomest face he had ever seen. He smiled, and the handsome face smiled back at him. Joyfully he nodded, and so did the stranger in the water. "I love you," said Narcissus to the handsome face. "I love you," repeated Echo eagerly. She stood behind him, happy to be able to speak to him at last. But Narcissus neither saw nor heard her. He was spellbound by the handsome stranger in the water. He did not know that it was his own image that he had fallen in love with, and he sat smiling at himself, forgetting to eat, forgetting to drink, until he wasted away and died. Hermes came and led him down to the realm of the dead, but where he had been sitting the lovely narcissus flower sprang up. Echo too stood beside the flower and grieved and pined till she too faded away. Nothing was left of Echo but her voice, which to this day can be heard senselessly repeating the words of others. And that concludes my presentation.